Hi, everyone. This is Dorie Clark, and I am here for Newsweek with the show Better. We are going to be talking today about how to win at Shark Tank. I am so excited to have my friend here. Her name is Sarah Apgar. She is the founder of Fit Fighter. Fit Fighter and Sarah were recently, just a few weeks ago, on Shark Tank, and Sarah successfully got her startup funded to the tune of $250,000. Today, we're going to be talking with Sarah about how that all worked. This is pretty exciting for most people who are fans of Shark Tank. They wonder, how do you get on the show? How does it work? And oh my gosh, how do you actually get funded? So we're going to learn about all of that, and we're going to take your questions. So if you are here tuning in, we are happy to have you, first of all. And second of all, please type into the chat box who you are and where you're from. We'd love to hear who you are and also any questions you have for Sarah. So Sarah Apgar, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks, Dorie. I'm so psyched to talk with you. This is a huge honor, given that I've been a fan of yours for years and years and friends. And man, I've really made it from on with Dorie Clark on Newsweek.
Oh, well, congratulations. I am excited for you. I'm especially excited to see all of your progress because I got to know Sarah. We first met at a conference that we both go to a number of years ago, but Sarah later went on to join a program that I run. It's the Recognized Expert course and community. So we've really gotten to spend a lot of time together with that. And she's created this amazing business called Fit Fighter. So Sarah, the first question that I have for you is maybe you can tell us a little bit, what the heck is Fit Fighter? What has been this passion project that you have been exploring for the past number of years?
Sure. So Fit Fighter, I like to think of as your new way of life that prepares you for your everyday mission. And what I mean by that is from our roots in the fire service, which originally was a program that was designed to train firefighters better for the rigors of their job, the weight loaded movements, the stamina, the mindset, the mission readiness that is required for the extraordinary demands. Now we've translated that and adapted that into a piece of signature training equipment and strength training program that fulfills that same need for anyone who has everyday demands of their own, whatever your mission is. If you are a parent, a professional, you're a trainer, athlete, whoever it is that you are and you're whatever you're looking to accomplish, we have the strength fundamentals to help you to do that. And so it's really been fun from 5 years ago in my garage to today when we've just launched this company on national TV 3 weeks ago, to just watch the evolution and feel the strength and spirit of our roots and see how that's had applications to the everyday lives of thousands and thousands of people.
Super cool, Sarah. That's great. And I want to welcome some of the great guests that we have tuning in here. We have Cindy Young from Chesapeake, Virginia, and she says she's a proud fellow member of the Recognized Expert community. So she's cheering you on. Look at this. We have Magdalena from Warsaw. We have Joe from Mary Baldwin University, Rosinda from Mexico, Renee from Colorado Springs, Jeannie from Oregon, Anne from New York. Oh my gosh. So we're so glad to have you guys. Anyone tuning in, please go ahead and type in for us where you're from. We'd love to see you here. And so Sarah, the big question that I think a lot of people have about your experience and how to win at Shark Tank, how does this even start? How did you get on Shark Tank? Do you just fill out a form online and say, hey, pick me? Or how does this actually happen?
So practically speaking, there's a couple of ways that Shark Tank finds its companies that it ends up endorsing. The first one is that you can actually go to, in the pre-COVID days, this is obviously on hiatus, you can go to a public casting call and you can actually get your 60 seconds of fame with a Shark Tank producer in person at a casting call. And you can find that information on abc.com. And if you just Google Shark Tank, and I'm sure those will start up again in 2020. 2021, those opportunities. And what a neat way for anyone who has that dream, even the experience of pitching in that manner. What you can also do is submit an online submission, a video submission and an application explaining what your product or idea or service or company is. And you can submit that to ABC and to the Shark Tank producers, and they review, from my understanding, over 30,000 companies and ideas every year for companies that ultimately are featured. And in our case, we got a phone call in the end of May after I had launched a new line of home gym sets and training programs that would help people suddenly needing to stay fit at home and stay strong in our world of COVID-19 as the world went into upheaval. We pivoted like everyone else and started to serve people right in their living rooms. And I think that was one of the attractions of the Shark Tank producer team. Called us and said, we love the story here. We love that this is now available to the general public, and we'd love to feature you on the show. So what ensued was six to 8 weeks of fast and furious interviews and business documentation and, all kinds of engagements and interactions with that team. And it was a really cool experience. Happy to answer questions or talk more about the details of that.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Sarah. We are going to have a lot of questions about that, I'm sure. And feel free, everybody who's tuning in, to type your questions into the chat box. We'd love to hear what's on your mind. And Sarah is glad to be a font of information for you if you have dreams of perhaps one day going on Shark Tank or other presentations like it. But in the meantime, I want to just say hello to Gisela from Monterrey, Mexico. We have a friend tuning in from North Macedonia, Janine from Houston, Carmen from Houston, Nikos from Athens. I think probably not Georgia. We have Diana from Rhode Island, Santiago from Singapore. Oh my gosh. Hillary from Amelia Island, Japar from Zurich. We are so happy to have you guys here. Katie and Mary, love it. Lori, so glad everyone is tuning in. Now, Sarah, a question that I think is probably on a lot of people's minds is what is the process actually like? You mentioned in between getting the call that Shark Tank wants to have you on and then actually going on. So you said it was about 6 to 8 weeks before that happened. What were you doing? How does one get ready for going on national television? Were you freaked out? Like how did you prepare?
I am so happy we can deep dive this question a little bit, because if there's one lesson I have for our audience out there of, wow, is this ultimately magic? Is this ultimately something that, just sort of happens to some, 1% of us and it's sort of all sheer luck? This experience for me, and I'm just turned 40 this year, is this wonderful example, real life, living, breathing example of commitment and dogged diligence and preparation and documentation and practice meets absolutely with a little bit of luck and ultimately a successful presentation and experience. This is the perfect example of it. During the 6 to 8 week time, from the time I got that very first phone call until the time that I was standing there pitching in front of those 5 sharks, I really engaged in a planned day-to-day, week-over-week series of mindset and presentation preparation that included a business and industry coach whom I work with, whose name is Kelly Watson, who's phenomenal. Took me through meditations in the mornings, practice sessions that were timed so I wouldn't get exhausted, that were also in the mornings. Question and answer preparation, in which we categorized questions based on business information, industry information, and the research that we did about the show and the interest of these investors. And then also just working with the producers on the pitch and the wardrobe and the considerations for your brand and your company and how you're going to present that in this very fascinating world of half business and half entertainment, which what a wonderful way to represent, your brand to the world and stand up there personally as the entrepreneur and get to really, strut your stuff. So I think that this for me was just the dream way, to present, but you do get one shot and you get one shot only. And I love that that comes with it all of those beautiful elements of preparation and of, I mean, that's life. You know, we think about even every day, there's that one moment each week. There's one or two things that are really important that week. And we should treat even those smaller moments like with preparation. And so this was sort of this big limelight national stage, the ultimate culmination of all of those things that I talk about as part of our mission readiness mantra with FitFighter. So for me, this was really living out a lot of the elements of what I teach and the training that we provide and the spirit of the equipment and the programming that we do for the company.
That's awesome, Sarah. It's so great. So during the preparation process, were some parts harder for you than others? What was it that when you were going into the presentation, you know, the day before, et cetera, you were like, oh my gosh, I really hope I have this. What was the most challenging for you?
For me, the single most challenging thing was to prepare. So, to think about your own personal strengths and limitations. And when I say limitations, I just mean the challenges we deal with based on our strengths and our personality and the way we present and who we are. And one of my limitations is that I'm a talker. I'm very verbose. My best asset can also be my biggest weakness during a presentation. And so I knew that in a setting where to be concise and cogent and say things one time and provide one piece of information and then not say it again, you know, and again, just to make sure everyone heard, you know, that's something that for me, I knew would be a huge challenge. So I went through this, but I knew also, I should say, that what I would really nail was that initial 2-minute pitch where I had the limelight. I knew no one was going to interrupt me and I could just go out there and really prepare and shine without interruption. So what I did is make sure that I spent a lot of my preparation time really on that first 2 minutes, knowing that I was going to own that. And if nothing else, if we crashed and burned and face planted after that, by golly, that was going to be dynamite. And then after that, what I did was really spend more of my time, probably 60% of the time, preparing for the question and answer, because that was going to be where I was going to really struggle and trip up. And I did role play. So I had friends and family ask me questions and actually treat the preparation like the stage and create a dress rehearsal scenario where I would say things and say answers and get feedback. And over time, get more and more comfortable with what for me was a big limitation. And I'm here to tell you, if you think you have a limitation, that practice, 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 you can improve on that just enough so that you can shine where you know you're always going to shine and have that confidence. And then you're just going to hold your own and get through those times that are more of a struggle for you.
That is terrific, Sarah. Thank you so much. And for those of you tuning in, if you are enjoying this conversation, please hit like and please hit share so that your colleagues can make sure to benefit from it as well. And if you want to make sure that you never miss a great conversation with the interesting folks that we bring on for the Newsweek Better Show every week, every Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, you can actually sign up for my LinkedIn newsletter. You can go to dorieclark.com/LinkedIn, hit subscribe to the newsletter, and you will be alerted to these great conversations. So we have, Sarah, some really nice comments coming in here. I love this. Diane says, how great to be able to put mission and values to the test in preparing to present the company. So big shout out to you. And we had a great comment come in from your fellow member of the Recognized Expert community, Annette. She says, it's so great to see your success in helping others to their better selves and great evidence about recognized experts. So that's really cool. Thank you, Annette. So Sarah, a great question came in from Anna. She wants to know your thoughts about how does gender factor into this? Being a woman, being a young woman, typically when it comes to angel investing and I guess later stages venture capital, it is statistically women are less likely to get funded. How did you think about your gender, if at all? You know, how was it a factor as you were preparing for your presentation?
I love this question, Anna. Thank you, because one of the beautiful opportunities we have with the platform that we gain from Shark Tank and from a successfully funded, woman-owned, veteran-owned company like FitFighter, is that we can talk about these issues, and we should. And my response is that I am no stranger to having been judged and challenged as a woman in traditionally male fields. I was an Army officer in my first career. I was in the volunteer fire service. That was the inspiration for this business. I have been a construction project manager in my Warby Parker days, which was my first career after graduate school. And so these are environments in which we absolutely do still find in 2020 that there is, still a natural evolution and progression and learning and education for all of us to create environments in which gender is a non-issue, and we're creating standards-based environments. And so my response is that I always start and focus on standards. I lead with standards, and I lead with my strengths as a person and as a woman. I can tell you for a fact right now that that women have leadership qualities that men don't, and vice versa. And that those absolutely, we should not be aiming to create equality because we want everybody to become the same type of leader or the same type of entrepreneur. We should create equality of opportunities to become that entrepreneur and to be successful in whatever it is that mission is, or with that company or with that pitch. But we have got to remember and embrace the fact that just as we all have strengths and weaknesses and differences as humans, we have strengths as women. And sometimes the communications that I absolutely believe are qualities that women have that, are challenges for men, and the different ways that we engage and interact. There are some ways in which I think there are absolutely advantages to being a woman and being a woman leader. And so my approach is always lead with standards, really optimize and emphasize your strengths. Remember not to try to take the emotion out of any judgment that you do feel, to try to take that sort of, the sort of rage out of it, so to speak, if you ever feel those moments, because we all will in all these different environments, and to stick to those principles of standards and strengths. And, if we do our best to take the emotion out of those other sort of times when we feel judged unfairly, or we feel like we're missing on opportunities because of gender, just know that there'll be a chance to step up again. And that this is all part of an evolution, and that we have responsibilities as leaders and entrepreneurs to do the best we can to work together to make a world in, 10 or 20 or 50 years that's a little better than the one we have now in 2020.
Love that, Sarah. Thank you very much. And we had a comment come in from Katie. Katie's a public speaking coach. She says, Sarah, you did everything right in your prep. So congratulations. You have officially been validated. So thanks for that, Katie. And great question came in. I think a lot of people wonder about this, or some people, depending on their level of experience, maybe worry about this. One of what I imagine is perhaps the scariest parts of going up against the sharks on Shark Tank is that you are going to be grilled not just about, hey, what's your business? What's the mission of your business? Blah, blah, blah. You're going to be grilled on the specifics. And so the finances. Anne wants to know, where do you recommend someone learns about how to talk about the finance end of the business? And also specifically for you, I mean, you don't come from a finance background, Sarah. How did you, as an entrepreneur, really learn how to talk and think knowledgeably about the financial end, some of the trickiest stuff with regard to your business?
Such a great topic, because I have always felt a step behind a lot of my colleagues when it comes to my intuition and experience related to the financials in business in general. I mean, I've struggled my way through some of those core courses in business school. I went to business school for my graduate school, and I have relied on two things. The first one I learned in the Army, which is never try to sound like you know something that you don't, because you don't know it, and that's okay. And we're all different, and we all have different brains and different strengths and skill sets. And so you have to, of course, try to make up for those, for that fact. And so the second lesson is a follow on to that, which is team. So I have found great partners, friends, college friends, college ski buddies. One of my most important mentors on this issue is one of my best friends, who's also a college ski buddy, who now works for a small firm in Philadelphia, Osage Partners. And he is someone who I call whenever I feel like, wow, I'm really drowning here. I need to learn some basics. I need to ask a safe question about a concept. I need to prepare a set of answers that's simple and that I'm comfortable giving, but I'm not going to sound like I know something that I don't. And that was what I walked into the Shark Tank with as well. I knew the metrics of my business, the basic numbers. I was an expert at all of the what I do know really well, which is you do know more than anybody else. You best know your product, your service, your customers, your teammates, your industry, your market. I guarantee you know those things better than anybody else. And so once you know those things, and then you rely on team members and reading ferociously, and then being as curious as you possibly can, and asking questions and not being afraid if there's something that you don't know and you have to ask or say you don't know it, that's the ticket to success. Because at the end of the day, if somebody's judging me on something that I just don't know yet, and that's going to be some kind of negative or tick mark on my docket, then that's not actually a person I want to invest in my company. That's not a partner or team member that I want to have. That's not a positive approach, in my view, to forward progress and great companies. And so that's what I would say is remember that, rather than feeling, frustrated or that you've really failed. Instead, just really maintain that desire, that thirst to learn and keep learning, and surround yourself with great teammates who can bolster you in your weaknesses.
Thank you, Sarah. Love that answer. And a great question came in from Rosinda. She wants to know, it's scary enough to be in front of the sharks and be presenting, but it's not just the sharks, it's the whole audience. It's all the people that are going to be watching you. This is a high stakes kind of thing. How did you handle your nerves during the day of presentation? Lots of people are scared even to give a speech in front of a room of 50 people. You were giving a talk to millions of people. How did you handle that?
Two thoughts on this one. As a practical matter, some of those techniques I mentioned, the meditation ahead of time, practicing 2 to 3 times that day, not 20 to 30 or 200 times that day. That's a great way to exhaust yourself and your mind. And then really dress rehearsing with all of the exact scenarios and as much of that environment that you're walking into as possible. So I knew that I was going to have to stand for 30 seconds while all the cameras swirled around me. They had told me that, standing and staring awkwardly at each of the sharks. And so I had planned what to do in that 30 seconds. I'd planned that I was going to smile at each of the sharks and look them in the eye. And then I was going to look straight ahead at a spot that wasn't looking them in the eye and just go neutral with my face. And I prepared what I was going to do with my posture and my body. And it was work. Those 30 seconds flew by as if they were nothing, because I just did exactly what I had planned to do. And then that allows you to really, it's just something you had prepared it, and you go and tick that off one by one. And then the second thing I will say is, which really is an important thing to sort of really is important for you to think about. And, if you're ever going to embark on this kind of experience, is you do have to prepare ahead of time for all of the different consequences and outcomes. And you have to get comfortable with those. You have to know what they're going to be, and you have to know how you're going to deal with those, and, personally and professionally. Because the reality is, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. And I was taking a chance because the stakes were so high that that I could succeed and make my dream come true. And ultimately, if you failed in that moment, which for me would have been, walking out of there and being unsuccessful in funding the company and having a new partner, absolutely there were consequences of that, but I prepared for that. And I sort of weighed that on a practical basis and said, this is worth the risk. And there are questions as you launch and grow your company of risk reward. And you're going to always have to ask those on a big scale and on a small scale. And they're really hard questions if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you have these dreams. And so that's really what I did, was ahead of time mentally prepared for all the outcomes, and then hoped that my preparation would pay off, and it did.
That's terrific. So, Sarah, a great question came in from one of our friends here on LinkedIn. They want to know, we are all our own harshest critics, but in retrospect, is there anything you wish you'd done differently on Shark Tank, or lessons learned from your experience? If for some reason you were able to do it over again, what would that look like?
I've thought about this, and glad you asked. There's two things that I wish that I had done differently, or I shouldn't say that I wish. It's not a regret. It's more that I think that if you did have that second chance, which often we don't, but it's fun to think about. One is that really, briefly pushing back. I mean, there were some times you only saw a fraction of the conversation I had in the Shark Tank. Some people don't really realize that the 7 to 10 minutes we see on TV is much longer in person. And during that conversation, there were a couple of times when I felt like I had been either misrepresented or misunderstood. And I do think, of going back, if I had the chance to have a private conversation with a couple of those folks in person, that I would say, just make a clarification, or I would push back on something I felt like I was misunderstood, which is my responsibility. Of course, it's our responsibility to ensure that we've communicated in the best way we can. So that's the first thing. And the second is that I had more cogently been able to communicate the long game and the long-term mission, which now I'm able to communicate much better, and I'm working on it. And I think now that we have a platform and more time, we can, really explain to people the long-term vision, which is to completely shift the paradigm for people of what strength training even means for them, that it's not weightlifting, and that this is not, muscle mass bodybuilding, but that this is strength as a means to an end for your everyday mission. And that every single human needs that. And it's the same fundamentals as a first responder or service member needs. And I didn't do a good job, I don't think, of explaining that. Unfortunately, the editors of the Shark Tank segment did this remarkable job of, I was so touched by the way that they told the story and pieced it together. But I think I could have done a little better job. And so if I continue to get a chance to, I'm going to get better and better at that.
It's a great reflection, Sarah. Thank you so much. So if you want to learn more about Sarah and her wonderful business, it is fitfighter.com. You can check it out there. And if you want to make sure that you never miss an episode of the Newsweek Better Show, we are here every Thursday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, 5 Greenwich Mean Time. And you can sign up for my email list and get some free assessments at dorieclark.com. And you will be clued into all of the great upcoming guests. Next week, we have Tal Ben-Shahar, he's a former professor at Harvard. He taught the most popular class ever held at Harvard. It is about positive psychology and happiness. And we'll be talking about mental health and work life during the holiday season. So, Sarah, the last question that I have for you, and incidentally, folks, if you are tuning in, last chance here, please hit like, please hit share so that other people can benefit from Sarah's great insights about getting your startup off the ground and winning at Shark Tank. But Sarah, we'd love to hear more. What is next? Now that you have been funded $250,000 on Shark Tank, you have a new partner who is the creator of Kind Bars, which is really exciting. What is next for FitFighter?
I have huge plans for 2021. So glad you asked. We have 5,000 new members and growing of our Fit Fighter family in just 3.5 weeks since we aired on Friday the 13th. So we are growing like gangbusters, which is, of course, what one hopes for that experience and opportunity. So now the big key is with steel hoses in the hands of thousands and thousands of Americans and growing. And I'm going to grow that number to millions and millions of Americans. The key is we've now provided this beautiful, simple tool for strength training for anyone who needs it, which is every human. And now we need to get all of those folks onto our platform, which is called Fit Fighter Life, where I've prepared with my team of Fit Fighter pros around the country introductory workouts, specialty training for if you have any kind of niche need, like prenatal need or sports performance or military application for the new Army Combat Fitness Test. We are preparing training that's very deep and robust, that's going to serve the needs of millions of people, depending, that can benefit from this beautiful, simple tool we've created. And so that's really my key and my focus in 2021 is to bring people onto that platform and to help educate them on this great tool that we've just been able to put in their hands. That's where the power comes.
That is fantastic. Sarah Apgar, thank you so much. We have been talking about how to win at Shark Tank. Sarah and her business can be found at fitfighter.com. I'm Dorie Clark. You can learn more at dorieclark.com. And we are so happy that all of you guys tuned in. Thank you so much and see you next Thursday.